Hello and welcome back to another exciting edition of SportsZone. I'm your host, Ben Florence. Our first segment, we've got Dylan Choate, Vince Salandro with us. We're going to talk a little college basketball, specifically AU basketball. Both teams later on this week will start their respective conference tournaments. The men on Thursday, the women on Friday. We're going to start with the women because the women had, by all accounts, a great season. Coach Megan Jebbia, second year. They swept the awards. Coach of the Year, Megan Jebbia. Player of the Year, Jen Dumiak. Shaquilla Curtis was Defensive Player of the Year. They are the number one seed after last Saturday's big win at home over Army, and actually 2 Saturdays ago. And they have home court advantage throughout the Patriot League tournament. Dylan, how big of a success has this season been for the AU women?
This season has been a huge success for the women. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think their record is around 19-8 or something like that. I don't know the exact numbers, but being the number one seed in the Patriot League, we haven't really been in this situation before, and this has been a huge success. Jen Dumiak, obviously offensive or Player of the Year for the Patriot League. Her past couple of years with the Eagles, she's been averaging about 10 points a game. This season, she's really stepped it up, reached that 1,000-point plateau like we had talked about earlier in previous shows, as well as averaging close to 17 points a game this season. So this has been a huge success overall for the AU Eagles, the women's team, just being in this number one seed and hopefully coming off some very strong victories like we were talking about beforehand before we got on air. Just hopefully they can continue to carry this into the playoffs.
You know, and Vince, you know, actually it was such a successful season for the women this year. So, but considering now they are the number one team in the conference tournament, they're going to play either Loyola or Lafayette on Friday. And still not certain of that from the first round game. You would have to say it would be a relative disappointment if this team, with the whole tournament being hosted at Bender Arena, if this team does not get to the women's NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. This team, or this program, AU, has never been to the women's NCAA tournament, so a lot riding on that. They've been to the WNIT a couple times before. They've also been in this position where they've been co-regular season champions or outright regular season champions 2 times before in the past. Were unable to get the job done, so I feel like, you know, there's a lot riding on it. At Bender Arena, they've been playing great, at least in their first round matchups against potentially Loyola or Lafayette. They swept both of those teams, winning by double digits fairly easily. I feel like we can comfortably say that they should at least reach the final.
Of course, as we know in these conference tournaments, good or bad, they're not played on paper. That you would hope that'd be the case for the men's team. Very high expectations after the very surprising run to the NCAA tournament last year. They are the preseason number 1 in conference, and Mike Brennan's second year. But really, the departure or the graduation of Tony Roblicki really hurt them. A lot of injuries to Zach Lucano, now Kevin Panzer as well. He's out for the season. AU now has no size. They're going to Lehigh, who's got one of the best big guys in the Patriot League. Vince, it's going to be very tough. I think you would agree.
Yeah.
Certainly tough for this team just to go and to get a win, let alone repeat back to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think the odds are stacked fairly high against them, even just in this first game against Lehigh. You said it, they have one of the best bigs in the league, and Tim Kempton, he's averaging about 16-9. He's 6'10". AU really doesn't have the size now that Kevin Panzer's out for the year to match that. They have a short bench as it is, so even if they advance beyond Lehigh, I feel like their short bench, their 6 or 7 man rotation where you have several guys playing 38, 39, 40 minutes a game. When you have those games stacking up in quick succession, that'll really add up, and the tired legs could really be a factor if American advances beyond Lehigh.
And Dylan, with the conference tournament structure that the Patriot League has, it's very heavily tilted due to the higher seed structure. The 1 or 2 seed has won every single Patriot League tournament since it started in 1990. I believe that was the year they started. So is there any chance AU can make, just like they did with their first 2 NCAA tournament appearances under Jeff Jones a few years back, is there any chance they can get to the NCAAs?
I think there is a chance. You always have to have that chance available. I just don't think it's a very high chance. The one good thing that they do have hope is that Zach Elcano is coming back. We will see how much he played. I know the last couple of games he's played minutes, not really contributing, but played minutes there. Hopefully he can come back and have a little bit more success in this Lehigh game on Thursday. But what's really been good for them is that they've had a lot of players that have stepped up. John Schoaf's been stepping up in a lot of games. Marko Vasic had a good game a couple weeks ago. Pee-wee's been on fire pretty recently. So if they can keep getting those contributions there, but like you guys mentioned, the height has definitely been their issue. So Zach Elcano coming back will hopefully give them that boost, even if it's a couple minutes here and there.
Yeah, guys, great insight as always. We've got some more exciting insight, of course, to stay on top of all Patriot League tournament coverage. Hit up the Patriot League Network. This is Sports Zone. We got more coming up.
Hello and welcome back. This is Sports Zone, one of your favorite segments as it is mine. This is Getting to Third Base. We're joined again by Dan and Aviva. And if you guys remember from last week, we were talking about the pitchers who were on the move, going all over, changing up everything. This week we're working on position players. And we're going to focus on two big teams in general, San Diego Padres and the Boston Red Sox. First, we're going to start with the Padres. As we all know, they've completely revamped their entire lineup. Outfield, pitching, infield, whatever it is. But for this focus, we're going to focus on the outfield in general, acquiring Matt Kemp, Will Myers, and Justin Upton to man all three outfield positions. Dan, these moves, these are huge moves by the Padres. What do you think of these outfield acquisitions?
I mean, these are three big name players. I mean, you really look at it, the Padres went big this offseason. They went big. And, I mean, and then James Shields, like we talked about last week, this is a big shakeup for them, a team that, as we said, is not often known for their offseason activity. So I think this is we're really falling behind the eight ball. If you look at their division with the Giants and the Dodgers, even the Diamondbacks some people think might be decent this year. Yeah. So they decided they need to make something happen, and took a player from their division in Kemp, who was an MVP a few years ago, and a Rookie of the Year in Will Myers. So this is big stuff from the San Diego Padres. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Yeah,
and Aviva, these three big players, like Dan just said, are big name players. People know who they are. They've been well known, especially recently. Do you think these three players, these huge acquisitions, are going to help the Padres get into that elite status that is the NL West?
I think it'll help them. Having Upton, Kemp, and Myers definitely will. They are veteran players, like Dan said, that Kemp was MVP once. So I think they will be able to help the rookies, and then with James Shields, like we said last time, they will hopefully help them become better in their division with the Dodgers and the Giants. But it won't hurt them. It will only help.
Yeah. Going to put you guys on the spot a little bit right now, but you kind of mentioned at the end, keeping up with other people in their division. Where do you see the Padres, obviously on paper versus the season starting, injuries, everything like that can completely change. Where do you see the Padres falling right now at the end of the season?
In terms of that division?
In terms of the division, ranking. Are they first in the division? They third? They're dead last?
No higher than third, in my opinion.
No higher than third?
I don't think it's enough. I mean, you look at their infield, there's nothing. Yeah. There's nothing there. I mean, Jed Jerko, Yonder Alonso, Jan Hervis Solarte, one of my favorite names in all of baseball.
Yeah.
But there's
no. Middlebrooks at third now too.
All right, Will Middlebrooks at least is a name, but there's really there's not much there. I don't even know who their catcher is. I couldn't tell you.
I don't remember. I think they ended up trading him in the Kemp deal. But I don't remember who they ended up getting.
The pieces are starting to come in, but there's just not. I don't think it's enough.
Okay, Aviva, where do you see them?
I think maybe third or second. Their pitching is they really only have James Shields, so I don't know. And then these three really good players, but three really good players cannot really carry the whole team.
Yeah.
So probably third.
Okay, that makes sense. I can definitely see it falling out that way. Switching to the American League now, we're moving over to my home team, the Boston Red Sox, making a big splash this offseason after finishing with a very dismal season last year. They acquired Pablo Sandoval and Hanley Ramirez, two people who are infielders. Pablo's going to be manning the hot corner, and Hanley Ramirez is going to be going out to left field. Quickly, guys, because we're running out of time. Overall, Dan, do you think these are good acquisitions, bad acquisitions?
I think if they contribute the way that they're capable of contributing, this is a good decision. But you never know. Ramirez has had a lot of health issues. Moving him to the outfield, I don't know if how well that's going to work. If his lower body's going to hold up. But we'll see. But again, if they contribute like they have in the past, this can only do well for the Red Sox in a tough division.
Right. And quickly, Viva, do you see this working out good or bad?
I think it will work out good if Pablo does well like he did last year. I think it will work out.
Okay, cool. That is all the time we have for getting to third base. Spring break next week. We will be following up more baseball action after that as spring training is getting deeper and deeper. College teams are playing now. We will see you guys in a couple of weeks. This has been Getting to Third Base. Keep watching SportsZone. Welcome back to SportsZone. This is one of our reoccurring NFL segments that still doesn't have a name. We're going to test try this one because Ben didn't like some of the other ones. Between the Uprights with Dylan, Matt, and Vince, talking everything NFL that's happening currently. Combine happened not too long ago. Post-Combine, all the free agent signings, everything like that is coming up. But the big news now was over 2 days ago, yesterday?
I think 2 days ago.
2 days ago now, was when players were either offered the franchise tag or not. And we had a lot of players, a lot of big-name players as well, on some pretty high-profile teams that did not get franchise tags. So we're going to focus on a couple of them today and look at whether it was a good move or bad move for their organization. First one we're going to be starting out with was the always controversial, but still very, very talented and good player, Ndamukong Suh, a.k.a. Chris L. Dobb lookalike. He's the one that was cut by the Detroit Lions, wrong sport. Detroit Lions, not offered the franchise tag. Matt, what do you think of this deal?
I don't know if it's the best move for the Lions. I think that they were making some big strides last season, even though they didn't go too far. They didn't have a huge amount of success, but their defense was strong. And I think Ndamukong Suh was the lifeblood of that defense. He was the heart of the team on that side of the ball. So I think that letting him go might send the team in a different direction. Maybe they'll try to rebuild that defense. I don't know.
Hey, and Vince, not offering the franchise tag, save him some money. Do they reinvest this other places, or is letting him go just a really bad mistake?
I feel like, well, obviously now that you don't have the large salary that Ndamukong Suh would command, you can go and make moves kind of to adjust and compensate for his loss, because as Matt said, he really was a big part of them. #1 rushing defense in the league. Maybe they just didn't want to deal with all the baggage that he comes along with. He's very controversial. He's been disciplined by the league multiple times. Maybe they were just fed up with that, but regardless, he's a phenomenal player, and I think Detroit really will feel the effects of not signing him. Their defensive line is going to suffer a little bit. Maybe they can go out, but when you look at the market, there's not really a big market for defensive linemen, and the draft probably not a strong class either, so it's really anyone's guess what Detroit's going to do to make up for his loss.
Yeah, no, we will see, and we'll see where Suh ends up going. Plenty of teams are going to be interested in such a defensive force like him. Now we're going to be focused on the offensive side of the ball, and we're going to DeMarco Murray and the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys had a choice. They could either offer the franchise tag to Dez Bryant or DeMarco Murray. They chose to go wide receiver route and go with Dez Bryant, despite the fact that DeMarco Murray had an amazing season this past year. We're going to start out with Vince for this one. The DeMarco Murray move, this was one that everyone was looking forward to, of what the Cowboys were going to do. What do you think of this one?
I feel like they're just banking on what consistency. Dez Bryant's had a little bit more of a consistent career than DeMarco Murray. Maybe they were thinking last year where he almost reached 2,000 rushing yards was a bit of a splash in the pan and maybe something that couldn't be sustained for a long period of time. Also keeping in mind that running backs really have a short shelf life. Maybe they realized DeMarco Murray may be getting up there, maybe past his prime, and going with what they know. They obviously have Tony Romo, who can fling the ball around a little bit, and he has quite a connection with Dez Bryant. So I feel like they're really making a statement that they're going to be a passing team moving forward. And Jerry Jones, we know he's been linked possibly once Adrian Peterson, if he gets reinstated, maybe this move opens that up. We don't know. It'll be interesting to follow that as it goes forward.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting development, but you kind of mentioned it. Pass-heavy league, Cowboys going the pass-first route right now. And Matt, do you see this as a good move, bad move?
I mean, they have such a great offense. I mean, you have a burgeoning, offensive line. Zach Martin had a great rookie year, and I think he'll give Tony Romo the protection he needs. I think Des Bryant was probably, if they had to keep one or the other, Des Bryant was probably the better choice because he's, as Vince said, has a better track record. We'll know he'll be more consistent, but it's going to be tough for their offense to be as strong as it was last season without Murray.
Okay, and we will see what happens with those players that were not offered the franchise tag. And as we said, there was plenty more that were not, but that is all the time we got to cover that today. This was Between the Uprights. I hope it was good. See you guys next week.
It's cracking, folks. Welcome to a little NBA segment. Throwing it up is what we used to call it. Maybe we'll still call it throwing it up. Who knows? Ben Florence. We got Matt Goldan joining the show. Matt, welcome. We're going to talk a little NBA hoops action. It's about a month or so until the playoffs start. So the push for the playoffs is really underway. We'll start in the Western Conference, which is obviously the superior of the two conferences. Oklahoma City, they're occupying that eighth spot. You got New Orleans and Phoenix chasing them. But we were just talking before the segment. You don't think that playoff situation is going to change?
No, I think the Thunder have the 8th spot locked in. The Pelicans, they're a young team. They're growing. I love Anthony Davis. I just don't think they're ready yet. Phoenix, they made some big moves. They moved Dragic. They moved Isaiah Thomas. I think that they're moving in a direction that'd be detrimental to their hopes this season. Maybe not moving forward. I like Brandon Knight, but I really like the Thunder in that 8th spot. Maybe they'll move up to 7, but I like San Antonio there too. I think the Western Conference is pretty solid right now.
Yeah, and it's pretty 1 through 8 really strong, especially once Oklahoma City gets everybody back healthy and rolling. You move to the Eastern Conference, kind of a different story. You got like 5 or 6 teams really in the mix, kind of in the bottom. Miami and Brooklyn at the moment are in the East, and then you got teams like Detroit, Boston, a couple other clubs. Who do you think kind of in the slop that is the bottom of the Eastern Conference is going to come out on the other side in the playoffs?
I think a team like the Bucks could surprise. I'm a big fan of. They're in there in the lower half of the playoff hunt. I think they're going to hang in there. They could surprise because Jason Kidd is a tremendous coach in his first year there. They made a move to get Michael Carter-Williams, and although he isn't a great shooter, he is a team player, a guy who's a rookie of the year. I like the Bucks, but again, the Eastern Conference it isn't a very strong conference.
No.
There aren't a whole lot of teams who could contend for a title, and you might have, a 2 or 3 horse race over there with Cleveland, Chicago, even though they're injured, and Atlanta.
So, kind of looking at these teams at the bottom of the playoff picture, obviously, even in the Western Conference where they are deep, like in Oklahoma City's got 2 star players. Russell Westbrook has been playing out of his mind, although he's hurt. Kevin Durant's been sensational. And let's just look at the Western Conference for now. Of those teams at the bottom, who is the most dangerous? Like, you look at your 6, 7, 8 teams. Which of those teams is the most dangerous to a top seed come the Western Conference playoffs?
Well, one, it seems like people are already counting out the Spurs. You never count out Tim Duncan, Greg Popovich Spurs. But I would say in terms of the most dangerous, I look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Kevin Durant, last year's MVP, he's having a lot of injury problems this season. He's he's having foot problems, but I feel like he's going to be healthy come playoff time. And Russell Westbrook has, in the way he's played the last month has put him straight into the MVP contention. And if those 2 players are at their best, I don't know if there's any team that can stop them.
And very quickly in the Eastern Conference, any of those teams that are in that mess, do they have any chance of winning a series first round?
I don't think anyone's going to top Atlanta or Cleveland.
All right, you heard it here. We're just a couple of guys wearing some sweaters, talking a little NBA, throwing it up. Hope you caught it. More SportsZone coming up.
Welcome back. This is SportsZone, and we got our last segment of the day. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What is good? What's bad? Happening in the world of sports? Happening around us? We're going to start off with Vince down at the end. what's your thumbs up, thumbs down?
All right, well, thumbs up. I don't know if you guys checked the calendar. It's now March. That means March Madness is now upon us. We can creep closer. The NCAA tournament is just around the corner. We had some pretty exciting games yesterday. Iowa State rallying from 21 points down. It's like a 22-0 run to beat Oklahoma. It's just the madness of March. BYU beating Gonzaga the other day. It's my favorite time of the year. Conference tournaments starting up, some this week, some next week. It's just a good time to be a sports fan. It's lots of upsets, lots of crazy games, and it's all fun and games. But I guess keeping it in college basketball for the thumbs down, it'll be going to Louisville and Duke. They've got Rashid Suleiman, who was dismissed from the Duke team, and Chris Jones, who was dismissed from the Louisville team, both accused of sexual assault. Chris Jones also accused of sodomy. That's really kind of putting a somber note on what's been a really exciting college basketball season. And really, with recent developments, we even saw with Jameis Winston some sexual assault, that it's really marring the college game in general. And that's really, as fans, not something we want to see. We want to see the best players out on the court performing night in and night out. Chris Jones was the second leading scorer on Louisville's team. Rashid Suleiman was a junior who was a very good contributor for Duke. And I feel like just in general, it's a sad note for college basketball. Obviously, when you participate in acts like they did, there's no choice but to get rid of them. But it's just kind of puts a cloud of darkness over what should be a really exciting time of the year in March.
Hey, you all good?
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, thumbs up, thumbs down, what you got?
Starting with my thumbs up, a healthy dose of optimism coming in with spring training starting this month. It's been a long winter. I'm so happy that baseball is coming back. The weather's getting warmer, and we're going to have some great teams this year going out and playing in the MLB. But, in terms of thumbs down, I'm sticking with baseball, and Alex Rodriguez returning to the spotlight once again. He's in Tampa for spring training with the Yankees, and the media circus is going to be following him all year long. As a lifelong Yankee fan, I hope he has a great season, just for the sake of the team. But man, it's going to be a long season just having to deal with all the attention and hype around Mr. Rodriguez.
Right. Anything else?
I'm good.
All right. So we got me now. I got a couple of them, so stay tuned. Stick with us for this. Thumbs down. I was going to give a thumbs up to Matt because first day on the show, coming up to a bunch of big things. Thumbs down because he's a Yankees fan. So that just I know you helped out a lot today, Matt, but thumbs down, you're a Yankees fan. Thumbs down to the weather. It's been cold. It's been warm. Snow melted on Sunday, but today it was hailing and freezing rain and a winter weather advisory. DC has never had a good track record with their crazy weather patterns, but this is the typical DC weather right now. Thumbs down to midterms. Those are happening. Thumbs up to spring break because that's happening next week, which is a great, great time of the year for that little break in the semester. But onto the world of sports right now, we got thumbs up to the Boston Red Sox signing the international Cuban prospect Yoan Moncada, 19 years old, coming out of Cuba. Great, great, great signing. It's going to cost them a good chunk of money in future options at drafting these players and taking these players of the international signing pool. But we will see how that ends up. Great infield prospect, 19 years old. Hopefully he can continue to develop and help us in the near and distant future. Great signing there, I think at least. On to another big story, Rowdy Ronda Rousey. You guys have heard me talk about her in the past. You've heard me talk about UFC with Shin to Chin and everything like that. But this past weekend, Ronda Rousey was the main event fighting Cat Zingano, Alpha Cat Zingano. Great nickname, by the way. And big hype to the fight. Cat Zingano's been the #1 contender for a while. We all know how great Ronda Rousey is. This fight lasted 14 seconds. 14 seconds. So fight opens up. They rush in. Cat Zingano goes for a flying knee. Ronda Rousey catches her, brings her down, armbar for the win. I mean, we've seen it happen before, but this was the tied for the fastest submission in UFC history for Ronda Rousey, and beating one of her own. She had her own previous kind of personal record, I think of 16 or 18 seconds for the fastest submission for herself. Ties the record, ties it. Just absolutely amazing that she can do this. No one else has been able to come even close to beating her. She is now 11-0 with 9 submissions within the first round of her UFC career. Rumors of her fighting Chris Cyborg out of Invictus. We will see what happens there. But a huge, huge, huge thumbs up to Ronda Rousey. I know everyone in my apartment was watching this past weekend, and Brian from Shin to Chin, we were very, very hyped for that fight. But that is it for me, for my thumbs up. This has been another great episode of Sports Zone. As we said, a lot of helping out from the new guys. Got to thank Ben Florence in the back right now, who's helping direct right now. So for Ben, Matt, Vince, myself, Aviva, and Dan, this has been Sports Zone. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you in a couple of weeks, but that is it for today.